The conspiracy has been uncovered, but it's not what you think. Trump is not trying to end the world or help his cronies. He's trying to protect us from aliens. I'm actually joking, but this is a really funny thread on Twitter, so I'm definitely going to make a video about it because, let me just explain, this is a great way. This is kind of how conspiracies can form. This guy, Andrew Potter, has a Twitter thread where he's basically painting a picture of Trump trying to develop a space force to fight off a coming alien invasion or something like that. Now, the sources he has may or may not be credible, but this is how you can easily form a conspiracy theory. And I think this is an important video to do because not only is it a really fun subject to talk about the wonders of the universe, but it also kind of plays into how Pizzagate happened. CNN liked to claim that Pizzagate was fake news, that someone literally made it up, when in reality, it was just people taking bits of pieces of information and putting them together and forming this kind of jagged storyline that probably wasn't true. And this is kind of what we're seeing. I don't know if this guy, Andrew Potter, actually believed this. I assume the whole thing is facetious, but let's start with tweet number 1. Andrew Potter said, "Let me spell it out for you. A year ago, we got buzzed by a really weird interstellar object that is looking increasingly like some sort of galactic Centauri buoy." And he links to this website, Centauri Dreams. And they talk about, my God, I can't pronounce this word, Oumuamua, thin films, and light sails. The interstellar object called Oumuamua continues to inspire analysis and speculation, and no wonder. We had limited time to observe it, and were unable to obtain a resolved image to find out exactly what it looks like. This morning, I want to go through a new paper from Shmuel Bialy and Abraham Loeb, considering the role radiation pressure from the sun could play in this deep sky wanderer. Let's also review what we do know about it, which I'll do with references to this paper's introduction, where recent work is discussed, for it seems that each time we look at Oumuamua anew, we find something else to talk about. Okay, this is probably going to get overly technical, so I don't want to necessarily read through. Well, I guess I should read a little bit. I want to focus on the thread, but discovered in October 2017 by the Pan-STARRS survey in Hawaii, Oumuamua stood out because of its hyperbolic trajectory. Flagging it as an interstellar object, the first ever discovered passing through the solar system, the object's light curve indicated both that it was tumbling and had an aspect ratio of at least 5:1, perhaps higher, an unusual shape for known asteroids and comets. I won't provide all the references here, as they're easily found in both the paper cited below and in other related work. Now, they show this image, and we can see this is a really interesting trajectory for Oumuamua. It goes down in a straight line, loops around the sun, and then shoots off. They say the track of Oumuamua as it passed through the inner solar system in late 2017. What stood out in 2018 was the detection of non-gravitational acceleration in Oumuamua's motion, which could be consistent with cometary activity. Although, as we've seen in other posts on the site, no such activity has been noted by way of cometary tail or gas emissions and absorption lines. This despite a relatively close approach to the sun. The McKelly et al. Paper, noting the acceleration, was addressed in another 2018 paper from Rafikov et al., which pointed out the torque from any cometary outgassing should have had effects on the object's spin, but this does not appear in our admittedly limited observation. Okay, I don't want to read through all of this, but what it sounds like they're saying is that the way it moved shouldn't have happened without other things having happened, right? I don't want to read through every technical aspect of this, but they say, we do know that if Oumuamua is accelerating because of solar photons, it must represent what the paper calls a new class of thin interstellar material. The researchers note the possibility that such material is naturally produced in the interstellar medium, but go on to consider an artificial origin. Could Oumuamua be debris from a technological civilization, a discarded light sail? My God, here it comes. They say, a fascinating speculation indeed, considering an artificial origin. One possibility is a light sail floating in interstellar space as debris from advanced technological equipment. Light sails with similar dimensions have been designed and constructed by our own civilization, including the Icaros Project and Starshot Initiative. The light sail technology might be abundantly used for transportation or cargoes between planets. In the former case, dynamical ejection from a planetary system could result in space debris of equipment that is not operational anymore and is floating at the characteristic speed of stars relative to each other in the solar neighborhood. So, I don't want to read through this too much. Let's go back to the thread. A year ago, we got buzzed by a really weird interstellar object that is looking increasingly like some sort of galactic sentry buoy. Maybe, maybe not. Out of nowhere, Donald Trump starts talking about how we need to build a Space Force pronto, and he links The Guardian. The Space Force. Everybody talked about it. 3. A few weeks ago, 2 of our space telescopes go offline at the same time. Dun dun dun. Links phys.org. 4. Kepler. Our main exoplanet hunting telescope has conveniently run out of fuel. My God. He says, let me connect the dots for you. And he posts an image from, what's this game called? Invaders? I don't know, Alien Invasion or something. 6. And of course, the emergency evacuation and 10-day shutdown of the Sunspot Solar Observatory in September was nothing to panic about, right? Right. The police tape was merely a precautionary measure. Do you guys remember that there was that huge shutdown that kind of went viral and no one knew why an observatory was being shut down? And then he's got a link to skyandtelescope.com. He says, I guess one thing we could do if we are worried is check with our own sentries. Let's see what the Opportunity rover has to say. Hello, Opportunity. That's odd. And then he links to a story from space.com. NASA will keep trying to revive the silent Mars rover Opportunity. Now let's have some fun. Okay. He's linked a bunch of stories that are not necessarily related. Let's read the story about the Space Force. What's the real reason why they want to have a Space Force, at least according to The Guardian? So this is from August 2018. All you need to know about Trump's bold new interstellar plan. I don't think it's interstellar. You know, I think that specifically refers to outside of our solar system, but maybe I'm wrong. In a speech Thursday, Vice President Mike Pence outlined plans to create a Space Force, billed as a brand new branch of the U.S. military dedicated to fighting wars in space. Oh my God. The idea has prompted plenty of enthusiasm from Star Wars fans and serious defense wonks alike, but also plenty of head-scratching from critics who question the need for the United States to shift the battlefield to the heavens. But what is a Space Force? Well, let's see what they say. The Space Force, as proposed by the Trump administration, would be a new branch of military by 2020 on par with the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard. An independent branch can't be created until Congress approves it, but the administration can take several steps on its own to prepare for the launch. Yeah. Why do we need it? The White House points to galactic threats from U.S. adversaries. Galactic, no, come on, calm down. Galactic would we can't travel on a galactic scale, at least as far as we know. Particularly Russia and China, which could develop weapons to jam, blind, or destroy satellites that are crucial to communication systems. In 2007, China destroyed one of its own satellites in a test of a weapon that could be used to target others. Russia has also tested a missile that could be used to track and destroy satellites. Not everyone is convinced, however, with critics saying threats on Earth are much more real than the prospect of wars in space. Maybe, just maybe, we should make sure our people are not dying because they lack health insurance before we start spending billions to militarize outer space, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders said on Twitter. Does it already exist? There is no independent military branch focused on space, but there is a sizable space command within the Air Force. Created in 1982, is headquartered at Peterson Air Force Base in Colorado and oversees 30,000 people. It includes the Space and Missile Defense Systems Center, oversees Department of Defense satellites, and uses radar to monitor ballistic missile launches to guard against surprise attacks in the United States. Okay, and they ask whether or not it's a campaign tactic. Let's go back to this thread. It looks like it's all in good fun, right? Naturally, I'm going to assume a lot of people are going to be conspiracy theorists about it, but let's see how some of the people responded to this thread. Because, look, I love conspiracy speculation. I love the idea of aliens and outer space and expanding beyond Earth and all these things. And I will say, if there's one thing that can bring humanity together and bring true equality and unite all nations, it would be an external galactic or interstellar threat. Someone said, bear with me here, but does anyone think the moon's behaving oddly? I've worked nights for 20 years, and in the last 3 out of 4 years, the moon's been showing larger in the sky than ever, or am I totally wrong? Someone responded, I've noticed this too. I may be imagining it, but at least I'm not the only one. Solidarity. Someone said, I like the dots, but in fact if in fact you're right, I think we may have already lost. Someone then says, and what about 8? A test for the presidential alert system just happened earlier this month. My God, that proves it! I think here we have definitive proof that an invasion force sent a scout buoy into our solar system to test our defenses, and we had none. We couldn't even get a photo of the strange object. And this said to them, we are ripe, prime for invasion. So Trump he scattered and said we must develop a space force immediately. because an invasion force is on its way, and this is proof of what's happening. I'm totally kidding. I think the Space Force makes absolute sense. There are threats from foreign nations we're going to increasingly see space efforts. We're going to increasingly see, we've got a permanent, the ISS. We've got the, what is it? The International Space Station. My God, why am I blanking on this? And I think it's fun to speculate about all this stuff. And a lot of people would just love to believe that there's real proof that there's some kind of artificial object that just, was doing a scouting mission on our galaxy, on our solar system. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think people really want to believe that fantastic things can happen, because the reality is life is pretty boring. And I'm going to end by saying this. It's fun. Video games are fun. Stories are fun. Looking for these things is fun. Hoping they exist is fun. But the truth is, things are always boring. When people were talking about the Seth Rich conspiracy and all that, I said, you know why I just really doubt anything like that's going to happen? Because the world is boring. It really is. I've been in the middle of revolutions. And you can walk, like in Egypt, you can walk 2 blocks away and go to McDonald's, have a cheeseburger and a Coke like nothing's happening. People like to imagine that the world is more sensational than it really is. And sometimes it can be. But for the most part, what you get is what you get. And we all kind of know what's going on to a certain degree. Aliens are not likely headed here. It probably wasn't an artificial object. The universe is so vastly large, eventually you're going to encounter something that's uncommon or rare. And that's the sad truth of things. It's fun to make these threads and speculate, but these big grandiose conspiracy theories are typically people just hoping the world, hoping reality is much more fun than it really is. And so it just becomes easy to connect the dots for a lot of these stories and then cross your fingers and hope that something bigger is going to happen, and you're not going to just live your life going through the routines where nothing magical ever happens. We watch these movies, we watch these great adventures, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Harry Potter, and we hope that one day we'll be the center of an amazing story. And the reality is, life is pretty boring. It's not all bad. You've got to make it fun. Go do fun things and go on adventures and develop. But big grand scale events are rare, and when they do happen, people don't realize they're in the middle of it. The people in World War II and World War I didn't realize it was going to be this grand historical event that people in the future would fetishize. People today look back on the past of the Roman Empire. People say, oh, I was born in the wrong time. You're born in this time. What's so magical about then that's not magical now? And people look back longingly, hoping that, things are better than they actually are. Because what people do is they condense history. They read about these things in the history books, and it sounds like they all happened next to each other, but they didn't. Life is the way it is. I'm sorry, everybody. It's not likely that an alien invasion force is on its way. But you know what? There is a small possibility. So be a dreamer. Cross your fingers and hope that in a few years, we didn't develop a space force large enough to combat the invasion force that conquers Earth and enslaves humanity. And that can be how you go to sleep at night, crossing your fingers, just hoping that one day an alien race will come and subjugate humanity. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. Stick around. I got a couple more videos coming up in just a few minutes.